be on in a minute.
Okay.
John's lineage. His son Samuel, who was a farmer, built the house where all the future generations of the Thompsons would live. Now, he lived there with his wife, Hannah Brewster. A lot of Brewsters, right, Kerriann?
Yes, definitely. A lot of Brewsters.
That name comes up a lot. And daughter of Reverend Nathaniel Brewster and their children. Now, Samuel's son, Jonathan, took part in the Revolutionary War and died in 1786. And he is buried in the Thompson family cemetery, located behind the house up on a hill.
And I think we have a couple of photos of the cemetery, correct,
Yeah,
Joe?
I do. Let me see. Are we still on the green screen there? Yeah. You see those?
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not very big. It's a small cemetery.
Yeah, it's very quaint. Oh, who's that?
I think I have one of you in there too. There you are.
You do. I don't know what I was doing. I was trying to talk to somebody, I think.
Right.
There's the marker.
Jonathan, that's Jonathan Thompson.
Mhm.
I mean, it's amazing when you see these stones that, I mean, it's Revolutionary War. It's just really incredible.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah.
I know. It just brings, that's why I say, I feel that, that energy. So.
Yeah. And getting back to the family history, Jonathan's son, who was named Samuel after his father, was the great-grandchild of John Thompson, and he was probably the most well-known out of all the Thompsons. Samuel was born in 1738, and he was a farmer, a doctor of medicine, and he was also a captain in the Revolutionary War. He was also a very prestigious leader in Setauket. His land and farm extended from Setauket to Middle Island and to Oldfield Point. So that gives you an idea. I mean, I'm saying that piece of property in the photograph we showed before was big, but it really wasn't. I mean, because the area covered all the way, through Middle Island. Now, Samuel oversaw the daily workings of the farm, and he did have servants and some slaves, and family members also helped to run the farm. At the same time, he was also known as the town doctor, and he saw patients actually in his house, and we're going to show you some pictures of that. And he made and dispensed medicine. He was affiliated with many patriotic causes, including being a leading member of the Committee on Safety, which was organized and developed by Brookhaven in 1776. And it's interesting because its primary purpose was for members to monitor their neighbors' activity, to make sure they were not being disloyal to the patriot cause. Can you imagine they had an actual, organization to watch your neighbors? Yeah.
Even back then, they had their sides that they took.
And as if that wasn't enough, Samuel was also involved in protecting and surveying Setauket and Stony Brook harbors against the British troops and their possible invasion. His job included making sure the harbors were heavily armed, as well as providing detailed maps for Congress on the harbor's layout for the arrival of additional support troops. At some point during the Revolutionary War, Dr. Thompson and other Long Islanders from Brookhaven fled to Connecticut as refugees because of their anti-British sympathies. Samuel did in fact return to Setauket and continued with his medical practice. So he was really all over the place. He did a lot. He did a lot.
And you find that with a lot of these people that live there, especially the ones involved in the spy ring, they had many different roles. Many of them were cover roles for the spy activity.
Yes.
So it's amazing that so many people during the Revolutionary War were so involved in the war effort and oftentimes took on very dangerous roles.
Right.
Like Samuel, many were farmers and had other jobs they needed in order to support their families. And many had to leave their homes and families and avoid being captured and killed. And it was really a dangerous time with these men and women. I think they were very brave.
And the other thing that was interesting, we brought up the Culper spy ring before, Joe. But as you know, from looking at the journals and from what our research provided, that some of Dr. Thompson's patients were members of the Culper spy ring, including Abraham Woodhull. We actually saw a signature from Abraham Woodhull, along with Austin Rowe and Benjamin Talmadge. Now, it is said that Samuel had taken a great interest in espionage, and he read several books on the topic. He also wrote about it in his journal, so this is all documented. It has long been speculated that Dr. Samuel Thompson may have been involved in the spy ring in some way, but there has been no information to prove this. So what do you think, Joe? I mean, some of his patients, we saw it clear as day. Abraham Woodhull came to him, and the fact that he was interested in espionage and studied it makes you wonder, but there's no record of it.
Yeah, I know. And I think when I was looking at the ledger book, I think we were told that that was not the original book that was there.
Mhm.
Right. So I want to read something that I channeled, and I think I sent this to you, but I want to read it anyway, because it was a message I channeled from the spirits, and it kind of brings up what we're talking about. It says, as I write these, this is kind of like William Sidney Mount had that message. As I write these words to you, you must listen to what Joe has to say. This book, within the prescriptions, contains the coded messages for the spiring instructions as to troop movements and additional information about enemy flanks. The prescriptions are written on paper and given to the patient. My wife, Abigail, has heralded this process for me, a task not taken lightly in this regard as to the danger posed to my family and friends. I can now rest in my sleep that you call death, happy in the knowing that the message has been delivered to those who can finally reveal the missing pieces of our story. That was channeled
Wow.
March 2nd at 9 p.m. So it must have been after our investigation.
Mhm.
And again,
Who
yeah,
do
go
you
ahead.
think that could be? Do you think that was Thompson?
I don't know if it was Thompson or Talmadge. It might have been the doctor. I don't know.
Samuel
But
Thompson.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think, because, even though we don't include all the ghost box recordings, because some of the things it said were very personal to him, because remember we had to edit that when we were
Right.
upstairs. I think the doctor, there was a lot of interaction with all the things he did. He was everywhere.
Mhm.
And so I would think his spirit would be the primary spirit that interacted with us.
Yeah, I think so.
So I just wanted to include. So
Right.
yeah, so my impression was that, I think there was definitely some spy activity there, and they were trying to give us that message to share.
Right. Yeah. And it's amazing because it was really dangerous times. I mean,
Yes,
people.
very dangerous. And you didn't know
Yeah.
who was on your side sometimes. But you wanted to talk about the government, American government, and his involvement.
Right. Because Dr. Samuel Thompson's involvement in the American government and the patriotic cause, he was actually awarded an additional 1,000 acres of land at the end of the war for his service. Could you imagine 1,000 acres of land?
It's incredible.
Right. He eventually sold a parcel of that land back to the U.S. government for the construction of the Old Field Lighthouse, which is nearby. So if you go to the lighthouse, you'll have to know that that was once part of Samuel Thompson's
Yeah, and
estate.
what I'm hearing right now, and he's saying, and it was for a tidy profit.
Yeah, it's
So
incredible.
that's what we do. We get stuff from the government and we sell it back to them.
Right.
Surprise. As for his family life, Samuel was married twice, first to Phoebe Satterley and then to Ruth Smith. Now he had 6 children with Phoebe and then 3 with Ruth. Samuel died in 1811 and is buried with both wives in the Thompson Cemetery. That's kind of nice that he's with both his wives. One of Samuel's sons, Benjamin Franklin Thompson, followed in his father's footsteps, and he also became a doctor. He was also an attorney, the assistant clerk of Suffolk County, a postmaster, and a well-known historian and author of History of Long Island, which was divided into 3 volumes. Amazing what they did in their life, and they didn't live that long back.
No, I know. They were everything. They played a million roles, and I forgot I wanted to bring them out. I don't have them in front of me.
You don't have
them,
do
I don't
you?
have them in front of me, but I do own those books, Joe. I don't know if I ever told you that.
No.
I have all 3 volumes. I had checked. I guess I got them about 2 years ago when we were working on the book project.
Are they like
and they're originals. They're originals.
Oh
the
my
original
God.
copies.
Hold on
And
to that.
yeah, and they're the 3 volumes of Benjamin Thompson's History of Long Island. And in writing Haunted Long Island Mysteries, I actually went to those books multiple times. And he has a section in there about the slave graves in Stony Brook, which also appears in the book. So I had gotten information on that story in Benjamin Thompson's book, but I have all 3 volumes. I mean, I'm always looking for older books on Long Island's history,
I didn't
and
know
I was
that.
able to get
Oh,
them. I paid a pretty penny for them, but it was
I'm
worth it. But I
sure.
have all 3 original copies of that book, which is really amazing.
Are they kind of old? Like they kind of the
They're the
pages are-
blue. I can't believe I
Wow.
wanted to have them in front of me
What
to
a
show
nice
you guys,
gift.
but
What a
yeah,
beauty.
so that was a gift for myself for writing this book. So I
Good
have
for you.
quite a collection
I'll
there.
have to see them next time I come
Yeah,
over. I'll get to
yeah,
see them.
definitely,
Well,
definitely.
I want to mention another important fact also is that Samuel's brother, Isaac Thompson, was also an important figure in American politics and government. You know, he was a judge and was
Yes.
the owner and the lord of Setauket Manor in Bayshore, which we investigated.
Mhm.
It's another amazing place.
Yeah, that
huge
was
place.
for that was for the second Ghost of Long Island, I think.
I think so.
That was a while ago. Yeah.
It was a while ago, and I still remember that. That's a great place, and it's was Isaac that had invited General George Washington to stay at the manor
Mhm.
as his guest during Washington's tour of Long Island, where Washington thanked the people for their wartime efforts. Isaac was married to. I'm getting a feeling from Washington. He says he wasn't crazy about doing the politician. He was really more of a warrior.
Right.
More of
The
a general. He really
exactly.
loved the taste of battle and the victory.
Mhm.
He hated politics. I'm feeling that right now. I don't know if
Right.
he's telling me that. Anyway, to stay at the manor during his guest Washington's tour, and when he was thanking these people, let's see, Isaac was married to Mary Gardner, a member of the prominent Gardner family. I guess it's
Yes.
Gardner's Island,
Yes.
and a descendant of Lion Gardner. Yeah, of Gardner's Island. So
Yeah.
that was the connection there.
I mean, it's just an amazing history in general for them.
Long Island history is very underrated.
Right. Exactly. I mean, that's what we try to promote when we go out doing our live presentations, because people don't realize that also all of our stories are connected. And you see how many, I mean, we're talking about the Setauket Manor now, and it's still connected to the people that were in Setauket and Oyster Bay. So it's fascinating. But getting back to the house for a minute, Joe, several generations of Thompsons lived in the house, with Mary Thompson, who was the granddaughter of Dr. Samuel, being the last resident. So his granddaughter was the last one to own the house. Now, upon her death in 1885, the house fell into disrepair. Eventually, a local farmer purchased it and housed migrant workers there. In 1943 is when Ward Melville stepped in, and he and his wife had purchased the house and restored it. By 1951, the Melvilles gave the house and property to the Stony Brook Community Fund, which is now the Ward Melville Heritage Organization. Today, the house is preserved as a historic house museum. And as we mentioned, as you saw, it's listed on the National Register of Historic Places. The original salt box house was built circa 1709. And as I mentioned earlier, the addition to the south side was added circa 1800. And we had images in both, but I think we got a lot of orbs on the older part.
Yeah, and you know, it's interesting. My mom, she wanted to buy a salt, but we actually had a salt box when we lived out east in the Hamptons, and it was a cute house. You know, it's a very distinct design with the slanted roof and the whole thing.
Right.
So you know, the museum represents how the Thompson family would have lived in 1748, and I really thought, walking through it, that it was very, very detailed, and you really felt like you were back in that time.
Yeah.
The furnishings are not Thompson pieces, nor are they original to the house, but they are accurately portray the lifestyle of how Long Island farming family would have lived during the mid-18th century. So I have some photos. Let's see here. Okay, so you see the dining room there?
Yeah. And beyond that was the room where you had picked up the sense of someone being taken care of like as a patient.
That's that room back
But
there.
this,
Right?
the room could have been a dining room 1 minute, and then it could have maybe
That
been
it
a
could.
room to operate on in the next.
That's right.
I
In
mean,
fact,
who knows?
I think we were joking. I seem to remember our demeanor that day. We were like, this table could have been anything with the table with the ledger on it, and
Right. So here you are in how they set it up as a doctor's area.
It looks like a doctor's office.
Yeah. So this looks more like a doctor's office in this shot. And this is from the previous slide, the other angle, where you could see the hearth. And then you also see the picture of George Washington on the wall on the left. Now, to the left of the picture is how you would get into the kitchen area.
Okay, curious, the sconces and the fixtures, are those original or were those restored?
I'm not sure. I don't think so. I think all of that was possibly brought in. I'm not sure.
I keep expecting General George Washington just come swaggering in and
Right.
sit down and say, "Where's my brew?"
Yeah. All right. So here's another close-up shot. Now I keep looking. You see on the walls, I guess that's I never really noticed before, or I didn't notice when we were there, but I guess those are herbs hanging. And I'm wondering if that was supposed to cleanse the room somehow.
Maybe, yeah, might have been. Maybe somebody to indicate, or just a recreation to indicate.
And then you see on the bed too, that piece of wood that was used to tighten, after a night's sleep, and the bed that was
a
usually
rope
made
bed,
of
right?
straw. Yeah. So they would tighten the ropes and everything to keep it so you weren't sinking down into it.
It's amazing what people pay for mattresses today when you think they slept on ropes and chains and cross wires. And
yes, and Margot just told us, hence the word sleep tight. Also, that's where the other term is, don't let the bed bugs bite, because there were always bed bugs because it was hay, All right, so now we're in the kitchen area, and this is actually a very long room, and you could see how they have it displayed with the bottles in that cabinet, which would be representative of maybe the bottles of medicine and things that Dr. Thompson might distribute.
Also, I want to say, even looking at the photos, because there's a thing called psychometry where you can touch an object or look at a photo and you can get a message from it. And even like in this room, if you go back to this room versus this room, you see the energy is different in this room. It's brighter. It could be the lighting too, but this room feels like a more festive place.
Right.
It just feels with the hearth and everything. So that's one thing you look for when you go through these places. You try to see what I was saying earlier about the zones.
Right. All right. So here's the picture of you looking in one of the ledgers. I mean, look at the size of that thing.
It's incredible. That's probably the size of volume 1, 2, and 3 of your
exactly. It
history,
is.
right?
Right. Exactly.
It's beautiful. I love that picture. I didn't know you had shot that.
Yeah. So now here's the other side of the kitchen. And again, you can see the herbs, and then the room past that was where the bed is. So if you look straight to the right, that's where that bed was. And then to the left would take you into the dining room where we showed you the photo there.
Kerriann, I do those video tours with the phone camera. I'm thinking maybe one day, maybe we should.
Yeah, we should look at that.
But maybe we should play it. Because it's just like a 1 or 2 minute walk around.
Okay, we have some information from Margot filling in here for us.
Okay.
She said, for your information, the fixtures are not original.
Oh, okay.
So let me go back. I just dropped off. They were brought in after Ward Melville Heritage took the property over from Splier Preservation, Long Island. So thank you for that, Margot, because I didn't think they were original, but I didn't know for certain. And of course, the track lighting that you see in this picture.
Yeah, I was just going to say that's definitely not. That's like you wheeling the flat screen TV into the saloon picture, right?
Right. We actually, we should have had Margot on with us. I didn't even realize this, Margot, but she just wrote that I was a docent at the Thompson House during the Splier years. Amazing.
That is amazing.
So that's something I did not know. All right, here's a close-up shot of the ledger.
Incredible. Yeah, I don't see where's the CD-ROMs here. I don't see any.
Right. It's amazing how much better handwriting was back then.
Oh yes, it had to be.
Now, this was one of the upstairs rooms, which would have been a bedroom. Obviously, it's not furnished, but just look at the quality of how the beams are, the
hand
walls,
hewn,
just
yeah, and also because this is all done by hand. This wasn't, there were
yeah,
no machines. I mean, they
right.
probably had lumber, like,
Yeah, I mean, the
sawmills.
windows, everything,
Yeah,
it was just really well
it's a big
done.
room also.
Yeah, it was. It was. All
Okay,
right,
and
so
then
now let's get into the ghost. Before we show those pictures, let's go over some things with that. As with the Brewster House in Setauket, Joe and I had been invited by Gloria Rocchio, who is the president of the Ward Melville Heritage Organization, to conduct an investigation at the Thompson House, which we did. Oh, actually, I have the date here. It was November of 2017. So it was way before we were even working on the ghost book. Now it's all coming back to me. We had done this house and Brewster and the
right.
Mountain House, and just for the organization. And then I told her, I said, well, if I decide to write another ghost book, I would love to include these in the book, which we did. And she was very excited. So that's how it came to be. So we actually had done these, so much long. I mean, because I think I started probably about 2018 or 2019, I started working on the new book.
Well, of course, and there were some that we went back, like the Mountain House, we went back to.
Yeah, well, that's an ongoing thing, and we are going to do a webinar on that because
Yeah.
it's just fascinating. So Joe and I, been developing that story and been to that house multiple times. But we actually, if you remember, Joe, we actually did a presentation for Ward Melville Heritage
Remember that.
Organization on the Thompson House and the
Remember that.
Brewster House.
Mhm.
So, hopefully we'll be able to do a full presentation, maybe in the fall with them on the book. But, it was great to be able to get into these properties. So anyway, while we were doing our walkthrough of the various rooms in the house, which we will show you in a moment, Joe and I encountered some paranormal activity. A door on the main floor closed while we were near it. And I think that was the one that was in the dining room, if I recall.
Right.
So that one had definitely moved and it had closed. But there was an abundance of orbs in various sizes and that we photographed in the upstairs in the attic area. Some were even captured in motion. The smaller attic area above the circa 1800 edition. So it was the newer part that had more orbs. I had it reversed. That also showed a number of orbs, and in one photo they can be seen on and around Joe, and that was the room that had the spider webs in it.
And I would just point out that, remember, spirits move around, so we can't really attribute the fact that the newer place would have more spiritual activity.
Right.
It may just be that that's where they were following us around to, or whatever, so.
Right.
I'd like to point out that the Sands Willits house, which we did previous webinar, the Thompson House was not known to have ghosts or spirits in it. And just a quick on the ghosts. So ghosts can be place centered. They're sort of the residual energy of people living in the house, where spirits are more like us. They're just people that transitioned without a body and they can move around. So either one, you could have ghosts and spirits kind of interchangeably.
Right, exactly.
But because of the age and history, it was likely that there would be some energy there. So it doesn't mean it's a haunted house.
Exactly.
And again, you could describe what a haunted house really is and isn't, but because of what we got that day, some spirits have remained in the house, from the past, or they were coming to pay us a visit. I kind of think they might have been coming to pay us a visit because we talked about how the spirits might be following us around as we do these various part of the, put the pieces of the puzzle together of the Revolutionary War. Nonetheless, the energy there was good, and we enjoyed our time there. Kerriann, why don't we show the
why don't we, and again, these one or
photos.
two of them appeared in the book, but the majority of the ones have not. So I think we have a lot. I think we have about 15 photos. Okay, so this one is up in the attic, and you could see a very small orb. above that doorway on the left-hand side. It's very
I mean,
small.
do you want me to point to, can you see my mouse?
Yes, I could see it.
Is
Yep.
that it right there?
Yep, that's it right there. And wait till you see, that's just a small one. Now, this is interesting. This is Joe looking at how the wall was actually put together in the attic. This attic was huge.
That was really interesting. I
Yeah.
just love this place.
Yeah.
I love that shot.
Right. Now, there was like another level to it. So I was obviously lower, and then Joe was on the top. And I just noticed looking at this photo now, there is an orb on the left-hand side on the beam. If you go up, yeah, right there. I didn't notice that prior, but that's one over there.
Yeah, Kerriann used to admonish me for things like a year later, I would go back and look and say, Kerriann, I think I have a ghost.
Yeah, and we'd find
why
things.
didn't you tell me when we were in the book?
We could add in the book, exactly.
But there's just so much to look at these, and you see them. And
We
sometimes
take a lot of photos. I mean, on average, I would say I probably take 50 or more photographs at each location.
Which doesn't really sound like a lot as far, you see these
But it's a lot to go through.
thousands of photos when they do these model shoots, but it's a lot because we're really focusing on different places and trying to, so.
Okay, so here, this photo doesn't have any orbs in it, but I like to include it because you could see how it's opened on that right-hand side. So this is probably where the servants, would have stayed up here in an unfinished room.
Mhm.
All right, here we go. We're starting to get into the orbs now. There's many in this. There's some on the floorboard on the bottom. All the way on the bottom right-hand corner, Joe. Do you see that one all the way down? The bottom right. Well, there's that big one, but yep, over there. And then there's a series of 3 in between these 2 beams. Yeah, do you see that? But see how each one is different.
This is interesting. I wonder if this was meant for me, because remember I had that situation when my first ever ghost investigation before I opened my own group. I went to the Sweet Hollow Diner. We were doing a ghost tour there of Sweet Hollow Road. And I dropped some coins, some quarters out of my pocket.
Oh, right. And they landed exactly 3.
Exactly 3. Yeah, 3 is a very powerful number in the spirit world.
But see how that one is also red. Now, it's on, if a lot of, you see that orbs are generally translucent, but if you're looking at that red one, the beam behind it is very dark. So it's not picking up that it's red. So that's an example of a red
and
orb.
This one's more bluish.
Yes. And then there's another one on that. There's one beneath that, a little tiny one that I think is that one, but then right underneath the big orb is a tiny one right there.
Yeah.
And then there's some more. There's one on this, these 3 boards.
This is really,
that are
this is an orbful experience, Kerriann.
There you go. These 3 boards on an angle. Do you see the tiny one? And then there's one above it, right there, and then one to the right of that, Joe. Up higher. Yeah, over here. You went too far. It's frustrating because I'm using my mouse, but no one can see my mouse.
I'm looking with I've got a bunch of gear in front of my camera.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you're right near it. You're right near
there.
it.
Yeah. So that's really cool. I'll go on to the next photo.
Yeah, Margot said 1 under the middle board, 2 is under. Yeah, exactly. There's so many in that one.
We should do the Where's Waldo. We should have like find all the orbs.
Right. Exactly. But now here's an example how you could see that they are orbs and not a dust particle, because I took this almost on the same exact spot. And you see that most of the orbs are gone. There's only a few. It looks like that gray one is down below here on the left, Joe, to the right of those boards. Keep going on the panel right there. I'm using my mouse, but no one sees it.
No, go ahead. It's behind my
here.
Webcam, so I can't see it. But I take your word for it.
Yeah. So I hope the audience can see it.
Yeah.
And I wish I had the ability to use my little pointer here, but I don't.
Yeah.
Okay. So then what's the next one we have?
Okay.
All right. This one I love.
Kerriann, actually, if I got you the photos and you want to share, then you could do your PowerPoint and do it. So you could also.
You know me with technology.
I love this one.
I'd rather you do it.
Look at this.
Yeah.
3 different.
And that's the one in motion.
Yeah.
Okay.
And can I just say something about
Francis sees it? Yep.
So
okay.
3 of them, and again, 3 in a row. See that?
Yeah.
Now
I
here,
love this one because it really shows the difference in orbs.
it does. It does. And I want to say something about this. If you shake the camera or you do a time lapse camera,
Mhm.
like you're doing like the stars or the nebulas or something where you want, or the moon, you want to see different phases of it moving across the sky.
Mhm.
There was just a flash behind you, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But anyway, if something is shaking, then you would get like a shaky, you get like something like that, that first orb, the really bright one. And yet the others are motionless.
Right. That's how you can tell also that
Right.
it's an orb, because only that one. I mean, the other two are totally clear, not in motion.
This
Yeah,
is a
that's a
great
good
photo.
point.
This is probably one of your best
I
orb
know.
photos.
I love this one.
I love it. I wonder who was rushing towards you, the white
Yeah.
one there. This is at the trail. Look at that.
Yeah. Here's a close up of that was that in the last one, or was this just a close up I took? I don't know.
Might be a
But you
close
can
one.
see how bright it is around, how it has that fuzzy edge.
No,
Yeah,
it's
no,
not
it's
the
a different
same.
one. It's a
Different
different one. But it has almost like a pattern in it of like a speckly type pattern. It's just
It-
amazing, but you can
It is,
see
but
that ring.
you can see the beams behind it,
Yep.
which means it's not dust, because dust would be material, would be
Right.
solid material. Certainly, it's not lens flare.
No. And then there's
Like what I
another
saw.
small one back on that gray board. If you look
Mhm.
down
Right over
on
here.
that gray board, yeah, there's that
Yeah.
small one there. Absolutely fascinating.
It
And
is.
then here, this one, I think there's some on the right, but you can see they're kind of disappearing.
Right here.
Yeah, there's again the cluster of three
3. Okay, so we have to think about that one.
of
That's
who that could
several
be.
photos with 3. Yeah, and look at
Yeah,
this. These 3 are almost, they're in a triangular pattern, right?
yeah,
It almost reminds me of like Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Remember the 3 alien
Mhm.
ships that came up the road, came around that bend?
Mhm. Yeah,
Anyway.
it's amazing.
Let's see. I love this picture.
Oh yeah, this is Joe at work. I love this picture too. It's just I guess we were about to do a ghost box
Yeah,
recording session.
which everybody's going to get to hear.
Yeah. This is one of my favorite pictures that I took
It's a
of
great
you.
one.
And I love you can see the cobwebs in the window and everything.
Oh yeah, but this was not
So-
the creepy room,
No,
right?
no.
This is one of the more open areas.
Yeah, this is still up in that area.
Look
All
at
right, here's
this.
a close-up shot of the orbs. So they are a little bit blurry because they are blown up, but you
Look
can
at how many
really
there
see
are.
the difference. There really are a lot. There's another one to the left of the big one at the top.
Mhm.
Okay. And then you have those two, and the one is in motion. That actually, I don't think that one's an orb. I think that was something that was hanging.
Okay.
And then
These
we have
3.
that one,
Again,
and
3.
then one straight down below here on the bottom.
I have a question for Kerriann.
Mhm.
There was how many people were involved? There was Samuel Thompson.
Well, there were so many different Thompsons, but I'm looking at these two, even though they're different, the orb itself is very similar. If you look
I'm
at the
wondering if
center,
these are
yeah, because look
like
at
the
the
brothers or
center.
something.
Look at the
Yeah.
center of the two orbs here. They have almost like an eye, like a dot.
I see
With
that.
a ring
Yes,
around it.
I see that right here.
Yeah.
I'm going
Yeah.
to draw it. So here's the
Yep.
eye. Here's the dot. Here's the eye.
Yeah.
Here's
It's
the dot.
amazing because when we do these PowerPoint presentations, that's when we really see for ourselves. A lot of times we don't even see it to this extent,
Very
but it's
interesting.
fascinating. Yeah. So you wonder that those two could be related.
Mhm.
All right, here we go. This is still, well, I guess this was in the older part now. I mean, in the newer part.
Is this an orb up here, or is that just a stain on the
No,
wall?
there's a stain on the wall, but it's
Stain
an
on the wall.
orb next to it, like slightly below it. Right
Right here.
there. Yep.
And then you've got this. Look, 3 again.
Yeah. And then a small one on this wooden panel.
Oh, this was the close up you did.
yeah.
This is the close up. I
Oh,
think.
okay.
Yeah, these are the 2, and then
Yeah.
you said
yeah.
this was something else.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
we had it in reverse, then that's right. But there's some other close-ups in front of your face, and not a close-up, another orb in front of your face. Yeah. Yep, right up there. And it's weird because you were pointing, it almost looked like you were pointing the antenna
Mhm.
right at it. And here's another one at the the end of the antenna, I believe that's an orb. And then of course, the one at the top that you just pointed to. And then there's one all the way on the right-hand side, a small one on a beam above that red, what looks like red tape. But I like this one too, you, Joe, because you have the cobwebs on you, on your shoulder and on your arm by
Oh,
the buttons.
yeah. Gosh.
Yeah, we get a little dirty on assignments.
Nothing is bad though as climbing up to the lens at
Oh
execution
yeah,
rocks
the execution rocks. Yeah,
with the bird stuff and the clam shells and all.
yeah. That one we really felt things.
Look at this. Look
Yeah,
at this.
this is another good one. I mean, you just see, I don't know if those were two orbs that were coming together, because it's very different than the ones that we get
That'd be a
where
husband
the
and wife.
orbs are in motion. So they could have just been close together, but there's a bunch of others. There's one on the floorboard.
Kerriann, I have to tell you something. I'm looking at this photo from this view, from this point, and there are faces in this. You know, there's spirit here. I'm going to show you. Tell me if anyone else sees this.
Oh, I see one up there. Yes. Yes.
Here's the mouth, the nose.
And there's an orb right next to it. It almost looks like it's a person blowing out a bubble.
Yeah, it looks, so this is his head, his eyes. And
we're discovering all this with you guys tonight because we haven't looked at them this carefully.
And there's stuff on these beams.
It looks like there's a face over there too on that beam.
Yeah, we'll have to look at this more carefully. And that's the thing.
Does everyone else see that?
Does anyone see this man's face here?
Yeah, and then the one over next to it.
Over here?
Over here, yeah. Okay, Valerie Miller says yes, she sees it.
Remember the Maritime
Francis
Museum?
sees it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot.
Around 1 p.m., very small, but definitely a face. Yep. I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah, this almost looks like a mural like that. But this guy, he's like coming out of the woodwork
above the orange wire. All right, you see that one?
Let me see. Right or left? Oh, over here. Right here. Your thumbnails and obscuring.
She said yes. Yeah, Margot said yes. Yeah, it
I
almost
love
looks like
this.
someone peering over. Okay, now I see it.
Wow,
Yeah, it's a
that's great.
small one. Yeah, there's a lot going on in here.
There's a lot. This is, in fact, when you look at this section back here, whatever this was, a wall
Chimney.
of
Yeah,
chimney.
I think that was
This energy here, this bluish white light, it's almost like this whole room is alive.
Yeah.
So this is a very, very interesting photo.
And when people say, the skeptics about, orbs being dust particles, you could see right here at this peak at the top for the big one, you could totally see through that. You could see through all of these.
Yeah.
There's also a cluster of orbs above that little face that Margot sees at the upper right above the red line.
Right over here.
That's a cluster of orbs over there. It's just amazing. And we went in here again, not knowing what we were going to get. There was no one ever said that they were like Country House. Oh yeah. Haunted by the ghost of Annette Williamson, St. James General Store, haunted by a girl. There was nothing that was ever. And again, I like to use that.
Kerriann, I see another face.
Lightly, because it's not really someone haunting. It's just spirits that are here.
Yeah, Kerriann, I see a woman's face. You want to see where?
Yeah.
Right here. Eyes. Nose, the highlight top of her nose, her mouth. She's looking up. Follow the beam. So
I'm trying to see. I don't know if I see that one.
Yeah, here's a face, a hollow eye sockets, the mouth, her nose, the top of her head. And here's her chin, right here, the bottom of her chin.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, okay. We also have, let me catch up on it. Everyone's so excited in the chat room. Let me go back to some comments here. Let's stay on the slide for a second.
Sure.
All right, so Margot said check out the face on the top right. Valerie Miller sees it. Francis sees it. Catherine sees it. Okay, above the orange wire. So many orbs from Kathy. Okay, all right, here we go. Margot just asked, and I was thinking about this when Joe was talking. What is that green in the bottom right? That green shadow lower right.
Right here.
I don't know. I was looking at that while we were looking at these orbs, and I'm saying I don't remember that. I wonder.
No, that's cool. That's very ethereal. That reminds me of a haunting at an old hotel in New Jersey years ago where I saw this green mist evolving. It could be, could be a spiritual thing, a haunting
Right.
phenomenon. Oh,
Now,
by the way,
Margot, right, not to interrupt you, but Margot said this is where the enslaved people were quartered, if this is the room above the kitchen.
mhm,
This is the room above the smaller section of the house. So, which I think that was a kitchen at
mhm,
one point, right?
uh,
That room that's now like a little gift shop.
mhm. This is incredible. By the way, I see another
Oh,
face.
that was the doc. No, it wasn't the doctor. That was through the doctor's office. Yes, it was through the doctor's office. So if you were coming in the main door, it was to
Mhm,
the right,
okay.
if that explains it,
This is
coming through
just
the
amazing.
main
Well, yeah, we'll
door.
have to look at this. It's a fun photo.
Yeah,
This is really a great job, Kerriann.
yeah.
Kerriann does, see, I do more of the intuition stuff, the spirit photography, the apparitions, the ghost box recordings, EVPs, but Kerriann is the orb. She's
I
the
don't even
orb,
know how that happened.
the princess of orbs, I'll tell you.
I can't get over that picture of the person's face because it's almost becoming more and
Clear.
more visible.
I know
Is it just
that.
me? I mean,
And you know what? You're talking about the one up in the upper left or the
yeah,
one
the one on the upper left, right by that orb that's at the peak.
right here?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, and it's also his skin is dark, so he
yeah,
could have been a black man,
right.
maybe one of the slaves that was here, or the
It's amazing.
yeah,
Wow.
that's really amazing. All right, let's move on. Okay,
All right.
so
Yeah,
let
it
me
looks like
make a
Catherine
comment.
said it looks like a poster. I know it almost
It
does.
does.
The more you
Yeah,
look at it, the more it looks like it's
that
really
room.
something.
Yeah, it's almost like a snapshot. Like they gave us this.
Yeah.
So
See,
you
we're
really
learning
need.
with you guys. We didn't even know we had as much as we did,
Yeah,
even more.
after that we're done, after it's over, I'm gonna save that on the desk. I want to really look at that photo
Yeah.
now in detail. So you really captured some amazing orbs that day, Kerriann. And now we're gonna play our ghost box recording. And so people might want to know what a ghost box recording is. So let's talk about it a little bit. So the ghost box is, which I have one here. Well, it's basically a small radio. It can come
A
in many forms.
transistor radio.
Transistor radio, the antenna, the AM, FM, and the dial. Well, the ghost box, we hack the radio, we cut some wires, we modify it so that it just keeps scanning frequencies. And what the spirits do is they start and stop the scanner on live people that are talking on the air, like news anchors, sports commentators, weather reports, talk show hosts, or music. Could be sound effects, musical instruments. And so let's say that I asked, let's say that at the Thompson House, I say, Thompson House, the spirits, how are you doing today? And somewhere on the radio band on AM or FM, somebody is saying, tomorrow's gonna be a beautiful day weather-wise. So they will stop it right at the time when the weather forecaster says it's beautiful. And they'll answer our questions, and it's real time, which is really cool because you can have a real-time conversation with the spirits. And it's using human voice, not just that whispery kind of those white noise EVPs that you hear, like, like that, where you're not sure. It's carrying an orb just went by on my right.
Every once in a while, not tonight, but I have seen them during presentations go behind you.
They come visit. They want to listen. Make sure he pays for the tickets. And if it's George Washington, we'll comp him.
Okay. There you go.
So we'll do the ghost box. So what we do with the ghost box, we normally don't talk about how we do the ghost box recording. So I'll just talk about that briefly. What we do is we find a room and we try to find a place where it's quiet and the ghost box has good radio reception. So we get some stations that it's scanning actively. And then Kerry and I will usually prepare some questions, or if we're there with a staff member, we were at this house, Thompson House ourselves that day, but we will ask them, we'll figure out what questions we want to ask the spirits. We'll turn the ghost box on, the radio on, and we'll start it scanning, and then we'll start seeing what kind of answers we get. And we usually do about a few minute recording, 5 minute, 10-minute recording. And then I take that back to my computer lab and I use some software. One particular thing I call Goldwave, that's the company, and they make this audio editing software. and I go through it and I take out the noise. I try to clean up the conversation. So we come up with a transcript, and that's what we're going to play for you now. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
All right, here we go.
Hi, Spirits. How are you doing? Hi. All right, Spirits, you want to help us? We're at the Thompson House. You know that? You're welcome. Who cares? We do.
Do you like this area?
That was an answer. We're going to walk down the stairs. We're in the attic right now. Okay, so we're back in the dining room, aka surgery room, aka meeting room. How are you today? Kerriann is here. You want to say hello to Kerriann? Hiya. Okay, those are greetings. Okay,
A
Kerriann.
question.
Question for you, sirs. No problem.
Was Abraham Woodhall and Austin Rowe in this house during the Revolutionary War?
If you-
That was amazing. And you
Yeah.
could see a lot of people ask, well, why are the voices different? And that's because it's whatever is coming over the radio at that time. So, but it's, that was a good one.
And you could
really
get,
good
yeah,
one.
and you can get, you may have a female voice answering for a man, or you
Right.
might have 5 different people talk, and they'll use some sort of fractal technology or something where they'll
Mhm.
actually integrate different pieces of voices, even parts of words, to morph into whatever answer they want to give us.
Right. I mean, it's fascinating. And, but I think it is important to remember that these are historical properties. And so I always like to give a plug to the organization. So, you know, if you live out that area, or if you're just interested or have the means, we always encourage people to become members or to make a donation to the Ward Melville Heritage Organization, because it's because of, you know, people giving and contributing to the cause that keeps these houses up and running and keeps our history alive, and enables people like me and Joe to be able to go into the houses and do these investigations, to write about it, and then to have it in a book
Share it.
forever.
And you know,
So-
it's not cheap. These
Yeah.
houses, even though they're old, you might think, well, they don't need heat, they don't really need a lot of, but they require a lot of maintenance. They have to be
Yeah.
painted. The wood it's an old structure, so there's constant maintenance on things you don't want. Otherwise, the thing's just going to fall apart.
And they
know,
were
rot
hit
away.
so hard with COVID. I mean, they weren't able to do live presentations, fundraisers, that type of thing. So I always like to try to plug the historical sites as much as I can, because I always say that's what I am. I'm a historian first, ghost investigator second. And we got to keep these places up and running. So I want to thank them for having us do these investigations and have the opportunity to help keep the history of these wonderful homes alive. We are going to be doing Brewster House and the William and Sidney Mount House at some point over the winter. And before we get into questions, I just want to let you know about our next webinar. Will be taking place on Wednesday, February 23rd. And we will be discussing the Nathaniel Conklin House, which is located in Babylon. So registration is already underway for that. And if you're interested, books are available for purchase, signed copies and personalized on my website at ghostsoflongisland.com. And usually I can get those out to you pretty quickly if you need them for gifts or anything like that. So at this point.
Oh, I'd like to also, 2 things.
Mhm.
So the Nathaniel Conklin House could be a lot of fun. You guys really should sign up
Yeah.
for that because I enjoyed it. I mean, we enjoy all these places.
And they
but
have
that-
ghost stories. They
Yes, but
came with
also-
ghost stories too.
What's interesting with that, you want to listen to the Ghost Box recording where they have this stone in this case, which they called its original stone. I guess it was a cornerstone or something from the property.
Yes, and
Right.
there's a great
And-
story with that.
yeah.
Yeah.
There is, and the funny thing in the Ghost Box, they wanted to reference the original stone, so they stopped the recorder right when there was an add-on for AutoZone, the auto parts store. So
Right, yeah.
AutoZone original stone. So this is the kind of fun things that they do that we get an
Yeah.
opportunity to listen to. I also want to say that if you had trouble hearing the the recording, the Ghost Box recording tonight, or you'd like to listen to it, or maybe someone couldn't make the event tonight, all of these are on Kerriann's website. You can go on her site and you'll see a link to go to my site where all the EVPs and the Ghost Box recordings for all the books are there. So you could listen to these and others and really enjoy it. Put a nice headset on your ears.
Yeah, go back and listen to them, definitely.
Because if you miss anything, they're really amazing. Some of these recordings go on for several minutes.
Yeah, the William Sidney Mount one, which will be coming up. And I'd like to add, Margot is sharing with us, for those of you who are interested in specifically the Culper Spy Ring. She said the Culper Spy Day is going to be at the Thompson House and
Really?
is
That's great.
included in the ticket to the house, I guess, Margot, if you buy a ticket to see the Thompson House, and she's
And when is
saying it's September 10th, 2022. Margot also runs something called Try Spy Tours. And if you Google that, you could look it up, and you could actually do a walking tour, bicycle tour, kayaking tour in the areas of the Culper Spy Ring. So that's why she's always such a wealth of information for us. And I appreciate you helping us out and filling in some of our things that we didn't know tonight, Margot. So thank you. Yes, she wrote, you get into all the homes for one price. Oh, wow. All right. Is there some way that we could get onto like a mailing list or email list so we can be reminded of that? If you have something like that and you want to share, be my guest. We also have some other questions in the chat. Oh, these are just all everyone saying that they saw it. Okay. I don't have any questions at this point. Okay, so it's the Three Village Historical Society mailing list. Another great organization worth supporting. They handle everything in the area of Setauket and Strong's Neck as well. And like I said, we got to keep these places going. And that's what Joe and I try to do with these webinars, to encourage and to show how interesting the histories are.
They
and
are.
How spiritual they are. Okay, so we have a question for Joe from Catherine.
Hi, Catherine.
Before you even get to a location, do you ever get impressions or messages ahead of time?
Absolutely.
Whether at home or in the car on the way here? Yes, many times, because you've come and told me, like, oh, so-and-so was with me in the car or whatever.
Yes, in fact, because I do readings, a lot of times the spirits will talk to me before I get to the client or do the phone reading. It's interesting, and Kerriann remembers this one of our best examples of this. It was not before I got there, it was at the place, but when we went to do this Michael story.
And, yes, that's a great example.
Yeah, so I didn't even know where this place was, and I'm following Kerriann's SUV, and we get to the place, and they're in the kitchen, they're setting up for the interview, and I decided I had to make a rest stop, so they told me it's down the hall. So I went down the hall, and as soon as I closed the door, I put on the ceiling fan. I heard this beautiful clairaudient voice, very melodic voice. He says, "My name is Michael."
Yeah. And I had given you no information on that.
No,
story
I didn't even. Again, I didn't even know where the place was. I was following. I was hoping I wouldn't get lost. So we went into the kitchen where everybody was sitting down, and I said, "Before we start, this guy told me his name is Michael. Who's that?" They looked kind of shocked, and they said, "That's our son who died. That's the one who haunts the house. His name is Michael."
Yeah.
So, and I get it. I get stuff before, as Kerriann mentioned.
William Sidney Mount. You've gotten a couple of places. I can't remember offhand, but a lot of them were in this Setauket Strong's Neck area.
Yeah. And by the way, Kerriann, I want to thank you again for that lovely Williams. I was actually looking at his paintings in his painting book about his life, and he was telling me which ones were his favorite. And it's great. Yeah, he's very interesting. I can't wait to do that.
Yeah, I gave Joe a William Sidney Mount book for Christmas. I have the same one, and it has his paintings and everything.
Yeah, it's really good. He did a lot of work.
It's a great book.
Great portrait artist. Great, people artists. So
right.
So great question. Thank you for that question.
Right.
Yes, it does happen.
And does anyone else have any questions for us this evening? All right, I hope you enjoyed it. Again, I apologize for the technical issues we had in the beginning, and I don't think we were recording at that point either. So thank you for bearing with us in this technical world.
Yeah,
Most of
it's
the
really,
time it works out, but every once in a while,
it's
it's a
really
little issue
incredible
or
when you
two.
think about this. I was in the supermarket the other day, and there was a guy in there, and he was talking. I guess he had an Apple Watch. He was talking to his
Right.
young guy, talking to his friend or his girlfriend or something. And I said to him, "Oh, you have a Dick Tracy watch." And he
He
looked at me and
probably
said,
had
"What's
no
that?" Didn't know
idea.
what that was. Now, back when Dick Tracy, he used to go calling the chief,
Yeah, that's right.
calling Dick Tracy, calling. So they had this phone, this thing years, decades ago.
Right. I know.
And
And now it's all come
this has
today.
come true. So
Yeah, we have
whoever
one.
thought that in the 1950s, you would use the wife would not be in the passenger seat with a husband. They're driving to a family vacation,
Right,
but
well,
you would have this
that's
big map
exactly,
spread out
that's
in the
in
car.
our live presentation, for
You
those of
just,
you who have
it's
seen
right. You
us
just
live.
press the button, and this woman or guy is going to tell you which way to turn.
Which way to turn, that's right. And on that note, we have one last question. Margaret wants to know if I use the ghost meter. I honestly can't remember. See, the problem was with this investigation and Brewster, we weren't on assignment for the book. We were just doing this. So we didn't take down as much information as far as usually Joe gives me a report. So we didn't do that. And I know I used it. I don't recall anything going off, but it could have. We just didn't write it down at the time.
Yeah,
But
I don't remember. I think
yeah.
you did. I think it went off in the spidery room. But
Yeah.
I don't remember. But I could listen
It
to the
may have,
recording.
yeah. So, because that we always used to,
Yeah,
so.
definitely. We've
All
gotten better.
right.
Guys, we've gotten better. I mean, you get into a sort of a procedure in the beginning. You're kind of trying different things, but now we're pretty specific. Kerriann doesn't tell me anything. We go into a place. I get my impressions. Then we get the reveal of what the ghost stories are, or what I felt, or what I saw, if it corroborates any evidence. And then I do a little video too. I walk around while Kerriann's interviewing. I walk around just to remember. So we remember what rooms were what.
Yeah.
And she uses the ghost meter. I use the ghost box and the recorders and my own intuition. So it works out pretty well now.
Yeah, definitely.
So
All right.
it's great
So
to talk to you all. Thank you.
Catherine says, thank you for another interesting presentation, and you're very welcome, Catherine, and all of you. We have so many great fans. Margot loves it too. We just want to thank you for joining us. It keeps us going through the winter while we're not on book tour. And it's nice because we're able to concentrate on specific places and sort of in a more casual way than when we actually lecture. So, it's thank you for joining us. So Kathleen says thank you as well.
And sharing stuff that normally we wouldn't talk.
And we pick up, we learned some things with you guys
look
tonight.
at the
We
picture,
saw things.
all the ghosts and the orbs in that room.
We picked up things that we didn't see before, because now we have more time. When I'm doing the book, if I tell you, we go through hundreds of photos when you combine it with all the stories. So it's hard to capture everything, to see everything in the beginning. So I'm glad that we had this, because we picked up on some things we didn't know ourselves.
The Thompson House, Kerriann, when we look back at our investigation, we talk about William City Mount, we talk about Country House, we talk about Raynham Hall, all these places, but Thompson House is like one of those we did and we just filed it away.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
It actually was a pretty amazing experience.
Yeah, it really was. It really was. So I'm glad you all enjoyed it. Thank you for joining us this evening, and stay tuned for the Nathaniel Conklin House in just 2 weeks, and we hope to see you there. All right, have a good night, everyone. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.